Hi, friends. If you are a regular listener or were a regular listener of the Milk and Honey podcast, you probably wonder what the heck happened to me and to this show. So I'm just going to tell you everything that happened between January and where we are. I want to just tell you kind of where things landed, what happened, how we got here, and the direction I'm heading now. Hopefully, there is enough grace for me in this season. You probably know that I was helping to build a company, Kingdom Alliance, and they're wonderful people, everything, that's fine. It was really taking a gigantic toll on my mental health. I was working more than my husband and making less than my husband. And I had so much hope in the vision and where we were going. And the end of January, I started taking the level 2 version of our leadership academy. And during that academy, we had accountability partners, everything was wonderful. And I sat down week 1 with my accountability partner and, she's, "Lemon, how are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm good." I gave her the very standard, diplomatic, cheerful, I'm former cheerleader answer. And she looked at me and she said, "No, Lemon, how are you?" And I was like, "I'm okay." And so then she asked me a third time. She said, "No, really, how are you?" And whatever she did, I will tell you, and I just talked to her the other day, but her really seeing me and knowing that I just kept performing at this very high level, and she knew there was something going on underneath the surface. And when she asked me a third time, that was it. I started sobbing. I mean, uncontrollably sobbing. And if you know me, I am not a crying person. I very rarely cry. That's probably something I should work out with a therapist, but it just is the way I'm not a deep feeling person. I actually sat down with a pastor one time about that. I was like, "I feel like I don't feel as deeply as a lot of people do." And he was like, "Okay, but the Bible says your feelings are fickle. And so if you have faith and it's not just based on how you feel in the moment, then you're okay." So I just started sobbing and I unloaded a little bit of where I was at and just the struggle I was having mentally, emotionally, spiritually, like all the ways that I was struggling. And so afterward, after I'd calmed down a little bit and it felt awful for unloading on this poor woman, that's not necessarily what she asked for. I called somebody corporately and, I was just like, "I'm struggling." And I told her where I was struggling and I again started sobbing. Now, the second time in a matter of 2 hours. I am sobbing uncontrollably. And that is, again, not normal for me. And she said that she wasn't surprised, that she was anticipating me to break at some point. She knew that my breakdown was coming. And I was like, okay, that doesn't make me feel good either. It doesn't make me feel good that you're anticipating me to fall apart at the seams. And that's exactly what they were anticipating. And so she told me to take some time and to just decompress and do what I needed to do for me. And so thankfully, I live in South Georgia and it was in the 70s the first week in February here. So I canceled every single meeting I had. I didn't produce a podcast because I didn't want to show up fake. I didn't want to show up and pretend that I was okay when I wasn't. And I taught my leadership academy because I made a commitment to show up and teach that. And that class gave me so much life. It was all women who had never taken it before. And so they're having these big, amazing breakthroughs. And that was life-giving. I listened to books on Audible that had nothing to do with business, just fiction. I just enjoyed. I was present with my family. And he asked me why I was hiding so much of myself. He's like, "Why are you putting on all of these expectations, and why are you carrying things that I didn't ask you to carry? And so I was like, okay, like, what does that mean? And just downloaded just so much of who I am and what matters to me. And the fact that I had been downplaying things that mattered to me, he was like, go forth with this. And so I still had every intention of, being a part of KA and doing things with KA, and got another plan. I'll just say that. I got another plan. My time at Kingdom Alliance came to an end. So my time there had ended. And so I was like, what am I supposed to do? What am I doing? And so I went pretty head first into what I was doing with Junior League. And I love Junior League. It's amazing. And I will say in March, I had been nominated for a leadership role with the league. And so that got voted on in March, the very first Monday in March. And the very next day, I stepped into my leadership role 3 months early because the person who had that role, she was going on maternity leave. So it just made sense for us all to start early rather than try to find a replacement for 3 months. That just doesn't make sense. So I did that. I went up to the Capitol with our state public affairs committee, I was voted on to the leadership board for the state public affairs committee. And so I just went all in on stuff that I felt mattered, right? I was looking at advocacy and policy, and I was doing work in the community and just building relationships around me instead of looking at business. And I really just kind of put business on hold for 6 months, to be perfectly honest, until I kind of figured out what I was doing, what I wanted to do. And thankfully, Glenn gave me the space to go do that. And I could really just dive into real, genuine relationships. I could dive into work that mattered. I could spend way more time with the family. And it was such a need for my mental health. I needed that space so badly. And so when I took my hiatus in February, when I shut kind of everything down immediately, rapid fire, the Lord had given me big vision on what I was supposed to do. And he told me to go out and serve women in a very specific capacity. And so I just started talking about it a few weeks ago, and the response was phenomenal. Women were coming to me and sharing such intimate things about their life and their marriage. And I was like, okay, God, is this what I'm supposed to do? And the favor came, and I have just shifted everything that I'm kind of doing now. But it really was a truly eye-opening, restful time that I absolutely needed. And I am just so grateful for. And where are we now? So where I am at today is I just opened the doors to the Supported Wife Society. So if you're listening to this before Thursday and you're interested, I have a founding member rate going until Thursday. So I had all this space, right? I just said, Glenn gave me so much space to not worry about producing an income. Glenn gave me all this space to work on advocacy things and step into leadership with the league, both at a state level and at a local level, which, I was kind of floored by since I'm new. I only joined the league in August. It's been a full year since I've been a member of the junior league. And so I'm like, okay, it's amazing. I just have so much freedom. And he, was encouraging me to go to, we had the Cheers for Charity thing. And I literally had to go drink wine for charity. Glenn's unwavering support. And so I started just talking to people, and they're like, how does that work? How does that dynamic work? And I was confused. And then I just kept having conversations with my friends, and they would say, well, I run a business. I am the director at this company, or, whatever sort of thing they're doing. They had very high achieving, they were very ambitious women. And they're like, but I don't turn that off at home. And so I'm also leading in my marriage. That's not how it was necessarily when we were dating or early on in our marriage. And they were frustrated. And so all of them assumed that's what was happening. They're like, aren't you like running the show at home? Is that why Glenn's okay with it? Because like you told him? And I'm like, no, my husband actually gets mad at me if I don't take opportunity. And so I'm like, he's my biggest cheerleader. But truly, he's my biggest cheerleader. But I also, I mean, I've lived in Savannah now for 7.5 years. I still need my GPS to get certain places. I just the other day left a junior league meeting from headquarters and was able to get home without my GPS. That is like how he just drive. I'm a passenger princess. I don't pay attention. I'm like reading a book. I'm like scrolling TikTok while he's driving. I'm like taking a nap, which I've never been able to do before. I just shut my brain off. Like, I don't have to think about those things. I don't plan date nights. If there is something going on with the kids, I mean, he has my back 110%. Like, I don't have to, I don't think about those things. And so because of that, I feel very lucky that I think it gives me the privilege to go and do the advocacy work that I do, to serve in these other leadership roles, but then also to be fully present with the kids, to be fully present when I'm with my friends, to be just a fully present person in all areas of my life, because Glenn leads in our marriage. I don't have to be overly independent. I have no qualms asking if I need help or if I'm overwhelmed. Like, I tell him and he knows, and he immediately picks up, where I'm lacking. We're supposed to be a complement to each other. And so when I realized that was something that I had, not everybody had, and I'm like, I think you can have it. People were like, can you create a community? What are you doing? So that's what I did. So like I mentioned 2 weeks ago, we opened the doors to the Supportive Wife Society. We've already had people ask for a husband track. Glenn's going to start meeting with some husbands, seeing what they want and need, so we can talk to them from his perspective, what's working for us. I'm not saying that our marriage is perfect by any means. We still argue. Sometimes I want to kick him in the shin. But for all intents and purposes, it's really solid. And we're kind of blown away. So we were just talking about it the other day. Oh my gosh, we've been together almost 10 years. That's kind of crazy to me. So I feel very lucky. And so that's the direction we're headed. So when I thought about this podcast, I was like, do I just start a new podcast? Do I do this one? What do I do? And so when I thought about it, I said to myself, the women who've been listening to this podcast are interested in leadership development. They are high achieving women. And so maybe that is what you're feeling in your marriage right now. Maybe in your marriage, you feel like you are leading in all areas. And if so, then I just want you to know the podcast is getting a facelift. I will get back to regular episodes and sharing regular episodes with you guys and just talking about what's going on in our marriage. Bring Glenn on for a couple. The last interview I did too, which is really fun, was with, Ariel and her husband, Kyle. He talked about how he has this very strong wife and how he had to kind of deconstruct his faith. But I hate that there's such a connotation around that word. Deconstruct church culture. That's what I want to say. He had to deconstruct church culture and look at what the Bible says about women in leadership and their capabilities and running businesses, and how all those things don't emasculate him or take away from him as a man. And I'm excited. And people love that episode. Let me tell you, even though I have not put out an episode in 7 months now, it is consistently being downloaded every single week. And not just one or two, I'm talking hundreds of downloads every single week. So that tells me that is a topic that is important to you who are listening. So I would love for you to stick around and hang out with me. Thank you again for the grace, and for everybody who continued to show up, even though I took a little mental break, which I hated doing, but it was completely necessary. So that brings me to a few things. One, I have episodes of the Milk and Honey podcast that are unreleased. So You guys let me know what you want me to do with them. I could email them out somewhere. I could put them in a Google Drive where you guys can have access to them. Some of them are finances, some of them are redemption stories. So it's entirely up to you. If you want them, I haven't even touched them since I recorded them in January. They're just sitting on my computer right now, not doing anything. So you tell me if you want to hear them and how you would want to hear them. And then I want to encourage you to stick around. So I've got some new resources. We've got the community. I just created a mental load audit. So if you feel like you're carrying the mental load of your family in your marriage, then you're going to want to download that. You can just go, it'll be in the show notes, but you could just go to lemonprice.co/audit. It's free. It's easy. It's literally a Google Doc that you can just make a copy of and take your notes in there. So it's not complicated. I don't want complicated anymore. I'm not into it. So that is there for you. And then if you feel like you want to be a part of the Supported Wife Society, I would love to have you. Send me a DM on Instagram. My Instagram is just the Lemon Price. Send me a message, or you could just go to lemonprice.co. It's right there on the homepage. We have the founding member rate right now locked in. The price will never go up for founding members, but the price is going to go up next week. By the time this next episode drops, that price will have gone up just because the first wave of content is coming and we have our first kickoff call on Thursday, and I'm so excited about it. So I say all that to say, again, just thank you for the grace and the space to really just spend time with myself, with my family, with my friends, and with the Lord to just see what it is, where I'm supposed to go right now and what direction He is taking me in. So I hope you'll stick around and join our party. Welcome back to our party. It's going to be a busy time as I re-record intros and all those fun things, but I'm excited. I am truly looking forward to it. I would love to hear from you. Send me a message on Instagram. It's always the best place to send me one. And I will see you all next week. Bye, friend.